Everyone calls the man with a safe full of physical cash paranoid. And once you understand the invisible trap he sees coming, you won't think he's crazy anymore. You'll wish you had started doing it too.
This is perfect.
The man hoarding physical cash isn't preparing for an economic crash. He's preparing for the day the digital grid completely locks you out. Once you understand the invisible trap he's avoiding, you won't call him paranoid. You'll start doing exactly the same thing. It usually happens in the most mundane places. You are standing in line at the grocery store, the hardware store, or the gas station. The person in front of you steps up to the register. The total is flashed on the digital screen: $142. In a world optimized for speed, the expected social choreography is entirely predictable. You pull out a rectangle of plastic, you tap it against a piece of glass, a machine emits a high-pitched beep of approval, and the transaction is over. But the man at the front of the line doesn't do that. Instead, he reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a weathered leather wallet. He begins to extract physical paper. 20s, 50s, maybe a $100 bill that has seen the inside of a dozen different registers over the last decade. He counts it out, deliberately. He hands it to the cashier. Watch what happens next. It is a masterclass in modern behavioral psychology. The cashier almost always pauses, looking at the paper money with a fleeting expression of inconvenience, as if they've been handed a foreign artifact. They have to open the physical drawer. They have to count the change. Behind the man, the line shifts. People check their smartwatches. Someone lets out a quiet, barely audible sigh. In that brief 45-second window, the man paying with cash becomes a point of friction in a frictionless world. Society has silently agreed that physical money is outdated, dirty, and unnecessarily slow. The underlying unspoken judgment of the crowd is clear. Why are you making this so difficult? Why don't you just tap your phone like the rest of us? And if you were to ask the people in that line what they thought of him, they would likely say he is just stubborn. A relic of a bygone era, someone who refuses to adapt to the convenience of the modern age. If they know he actually keeps large amounts of this cash in a fireproof safe at home, they escalate the diagnosis. They call him a prepper, a conspiracy theorist, paranoid. But what the irritated people in the grocery store line fail to realize is that this man is operating on an entirely different psychological plane. He is not confused by technology. He is not incapable of setting up Apple Pay. He sees exactly how the system works, and he has made a conscious, calculated decision to reject it. We live in an era where convenience is the ultimate currency. We have been systematically trained to trade our autonomy for the promise of speed and ease. We have willingly outsourced our financial sovereignty to server farms we will never see, managed by institutions we cannot control. Every time you tap a card, you are not actually paying for your groceries. You are asking a network of digital intermediaries for permission to access your wealth. You are relying on the power grid, the internet provider, the payment processor, and the bank to all be functioning perfectly, in unison, in order for you to walk out of that store with a loaf of bread. The man with the cash in his hand understands a fundamental truth that modern society is desperately trying to ignore. A digital number on a screen is a promise. A physical bill in your hand is a reality. When he hands over that $20 bill, the transaction clears instantly, peer-to-peer. It requires no Wi-Fi. It requires no electricity. It leaves no algorithmic footprint. It cannot be declined by a risk management software glitch. He is not just buying groceries. He is performing a quiet, daily act of rebellion against a system designed to track, trace, and categorize every human action. He knows that true security is not found in the illusion of digital convenience. It is found in tangible control. And to understand why he is willing to be the friction in the line, why he continues to hoard paper in an increasingly cashless society, you have to look at the psychological trauma of trusting a system that can be turned off with a single keystroke. To understand the man with the safe full of cash, we have to look past the money itself and examine a psychological concept called the locus of control. Coined by psychologists in the 1950s, it describes the degree to which a person believes they have power over the events in their life. Most of modern society has been conditioned to accept an external locus of control when it comes to basic survival. We trust that the supermarket will always have food on the shelves. We trust that the power grid will stay online, and most importantly, we implicitly trust that the numbers flickering on our banking apps represent actual tangible wealth that belongs to us. But the cash hoarder has experienced a profound cognitive shift. They have looked closely at the architecture of the modern financial system and realized a terrifying, unspoken truth. You do not actually own the money in your bank account. You own a digital IOU. When you deposit your paycheck into a digital bank, you transition from an owner to an unsecured creditor. The institution takes the representation of your tangible labor, digitizes it, lends it out, and makes a highly leveraged promise to give it back to you if you happen to ask for it. For the vast majority of the population, this promise is enough. The illusion holds up most of the time, so the human brain naturally categorizes it as safe. But the psychology of the individual who hoards physical currency is tuned to a completely different frequency. Their nervous system refuses to accept the promise of a third party as a substitute for actual possession. Think about what happens to the average person during a major internet outage, or when a payment processing network goes down for maintenance on a busy Friday night. For the person living entirely on plastic and digital wallets, the world suddenly shrinks. They cannot buy fuel to get home. They cannot purchase a bottle of water. They are temporarily paralyzed, completely dependent on technicians miles away to restore their basic ability to interact with society. In those brief moments of digital blackout, their entire illusion of control shatters. The man who hoards cash categorically refuses to be put in that position of helpless dependency. For him, the physical weight of currency is a vital grounding mechanism. When he holds a stack of $100 bills, he is holding unfiltered, permissionless agency. He doesn't need a smartphone app to authorize his existence. He doesn't need a distant server farm to validate his worth to a merchant. This behavior is rarely born out of irrational paranoia. It is usually rooted in a deep, sometimes inherited understanding of systemic fragility. Perhaps they remember a time when local ATMs went blank during a regional crisis. Perhaps they grew up absorbing the silent trauma of grandparents who lived through the Great Depression. People who woke up one morning to find that banks had locked their doors and entire life savings had vanished into the ether. The specific historical event matters less than the psychological imprint it leaves behind on the nervous system. Systems fail. Institutions collapse. And when the digital grid falters, the only thing that actually matters is what you can physically hold in your hand. To the person with an internal locus of control, handing over their financial autonomy to a digitized, centralized network is not convenience. It is an unacceptable risk. They look at their peers tapping their phones and swiping their cards, and they don't see progress. They see millions of people willingly walking into a cage just because the bars are invisible. The cash in their safe is not a misguided investment strategy meant to outpace inflation. It is psychological armor. It is the ultimate refusal to surrender the last tangible piece of their personal sovereignty. Now, let's look at the actual mechanics of modern spending, because this is where the psychological trap snaps shut. Why does handing over physical cash feel fundamentally different from tapping a piece of plastic? It comes down to basic neuroscience and something behavioral economists call the pain of paying. When you buy something with a credit card or a digital wallet, the transaction is functionally invisible to the part of your brain that registers loss. If I hand you a crisp $100 bill and you have to physically hand it over to a cashier, your brain maps that exchange in real time. You visually and physically register that something valuable is leaving your possession. Your neural pathways process a mild subconscious pain. The physical friction of the transaction forces your brain to acknowledge the sacrifice of your labor. But a credit card? An Apple Watch? They act as psychological anesthesia. You tap the terminal, you hear a cheerful, high-pitched beep. You walk away with the product and your card goes right back into your pocket. Physically, nothing was lost. The weight in your hand remains the same. The pain receptors in your brain are completely bypassed. This frictionless environment isn't an accident. It is meticulously engineered by financial institutions and tech companies to separate the act of consuming from the emotional weight of spending. Our institute's behavioral models show a terrifying correlation. The easier it is to spend money, the faster individuals detach from the reality of their own financial survival. The man with the safe full of cash recognizes this invisible trap. He isn't immune to the allure of convenience, but he actively and deliberately chooses friction. He wants the pain of paying. He wants his brain to register every single transaction because that physical friction is the only thing keeping him tethered to reality in an economy built on infinite digital credit and invisible debt. By hoarding cash, he is creating a physical buffer between his labor and his consumption. He knows that the moment money becomes an abstract concept on a glowing screen, it loses its meaning. It becomes numbers in a video game, easily manipulated, easily frozen, and easily devalued by algorithmic inflation. But there is an even darker layer to this behavior. It's not just about the pain of paying or outsmarting consumerism, it's about the silent tax of visibility. Every single time you use a digital payment method, you are generating data. You are broadcasting your location, your habits, your preferences, and your vices to a massive network of corporate algorithms. This data is harvested, analyzed, categorized, and monetized. You are paying for the convenience of a cashless transaction with the total, unconditional surrender of your financial privacy. The cash hoarder categorically refuses to pay this invisible tax. He understands that anonymity is the ultimate luxury in the modern age. When he buys tools, food, or supplies with physical bills, the transaction begins and ends at the register. There is no digital paper trail. There is no corporate profile being built on his consumption habits. He remains a ghost in the machine. Society looks at him and sees a paranoid prepper stuck in the past. But the psychological reality is that he is the only one who truly understands the true cost of participating in the digital grid. He hoards physical cash because he knows that in a completely cashless society, the ultimate punishment for stepping out of line won't be physical imprisonment. It will be financial erasure. If your money is entirely digital, you are only one policy change, one algorithmic error, or one systemic glitch away from having your entire existence paused. The man hoarding physical cash isn't preparing for the end of the world. He is preparing for the day the system decides to turn him off. He is ensuring that no matter what happens to the grid, he retains the power to move, to trade, and to survive. And the deeply uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to admit is, he is entirely right to do so. Because ultimately, if you observe the man who hoards cash long enough, our behavioral models reveal a profound truth. At a certain point, the cash inside that safe ceases to be currency. It transforms into an artifact of identity. The modern financial system demands total assimilation. It requires you to digitize your labor, your habits, and your trust. But the individual who deliberately fills a metal box with paper bills is engaging in a terminal refusal. He is looking at the architecture of the modern world and quietly saying, "I will not be reduced to a node in your database." Think about the concept of bankruptcy. In the traditional sense, bankruptcy means you have run out of capital. You have no more money to pay your debts. But the cash hoarder defines bankruptcy entirely differently. To him, true financial ruin is not a zero balance on an illuminated screen. True bankruptcy is losing the capacity to exist outside the system. If every transaction you make requires a smartphone, a server farm, and a Wi-Fi connection, you are already bankrupt in the currency of freedom. You are a total dependent. The cash in the safe is not an investment portfolio. It is not generating a yield. He knows perfectly well that inflation is eating away at its purchasing power year after year. A financial advisor would call this a catastrophic loss. But the hoarder doesn't care. He calls it an insurance premium. He is willingly paying the invisible tax of inflation to ensure that his autonomy remains perfectly intact. Let's analyze the psychological weight of the approaching cashless utopia. We are rapidly moving toward the era of programmable money, central bank digital currencies. In this environment, money is no longer just a medium of exchange. It becomes a behavioral control mechanism. A digital dollar can be programmed with an expiration date to force spending. It can be geo-fenced. It can be instantly blocked from purchasing certain items deemed unfavorable by whoever controls the master ledger. The man with the physical cash recognizes this existential threat. When he stacks $20 bills, he is stacking unprogrammable autonomy. A piece of physical paper cannot be geo-fenced. It cannot be given an expiration date by a central algorithm. It is dumb, analog, and perfectly sovereign. This is exactly why the act of hoarding it feels so deeply satisfying to his nervous system. Every time he places another bill into that safe, his brain releases a hit of dopamine associated with survival and security. It is the exact same neurological reward mechanism that our ancestors felt when they successfully stored enough grain to survive a brutal, unpredictable winter. The medium has changed from wheat to paper, but the primal psychological drive is identical. He is building a fortress against the winter of digital overreach. The cash hoarder is the immune system of a free society. He is the friction. He is the anomaly the algorithm cannot predict and cannot control. Let's bring this back to that moment in the grocery store. He hands over the crumpled $20 bill. The cashier sighs. The people in line check their smartwatches. They think they are the advanced ones. They think they are standing on the cutting edge of human progress. But as he puts his weathered leather wallet back into his pocket, he holds a quiet, unshakable peace. He knows that if the power grid goes dark tomorrow, if a cyber attack freezes the banking servers, or if a centralized authority decides to lock down digital assets, the people sighing behind him will instantly become helpless. They will have millions of digital dollars they cannot touch, and they will go hungry. He, on the other hand, will simply walk down the street and buy exactly what he needs. Because his nervous system never forgot the most crucial, unforgiving rule of human survival. If you cannot hold it in your hand, you do not actually own it. If this analysis resonated with the quiet instincts you've been carrying, you are not alone. Our institute continues to map the psychology of the modern world, dissecting the invisible traps of the digital age. Subscribe to the archives. Stay vigilant and stay tangible. If you are one of the few who still sees the trap, type the word tangible in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss a briefing. Stay vigilant, and we will see you in the next analysis.